To you to share some wisdom about changing your external environment and why you might be wasting a ton of time. You see, this is some wisdom that I'm learning hard at the moment. If you're too focused on changing your external environment, you might be missing a trick. Let me tell you a story about a guy I saw. The sun was shining down crazy, and I'm wearing this crazy hat while I'm doing this talk. It's too hot out here. The sun was shining crazily on some guy I saw. It was beating down 35 degrees and he was overheating. You could see he was overheating. And this man was trying to solve his problem with the sun beating down on him by trying to find an air conditioning unit outside. Then he got a fan. Then he got some people to just blow some those fans on him. Then he tried to move around, shake his body, try to do something to relieve himself. Got a whole bunch of hot cold water. He was trying to cool himself down in the middle of the baking sun, and yet only 3 feet away, 5 feet away, he had a big shade like this one above. He had a shade. All he had to do was move 5 feet to the left and he would be under the shade and the sun wouldn't bake him. One simple change, one simple movement of 5 feet could have solved his overheating problem. And yet he was doing all these things. And this is the analogy I want to share with you. Could it be that we're focusing a little too much on changing our external environment to try to make us more happy, more successful, less stressed, more lovable, more likable, slimmer, fatter, whatever it is that we're trying to do in our personal or professional life? Could it be that we're focusing a little too much on our external environment when in actuality, is it not the case that just like this guy, a change of focus, a shift in direction could make all the difference? And that's what I want to invite you all to play with. Rather than focusing on building our empires, our external empires, our ladders of success in our personal and professional and romantic and social lives, what if we were to focus on building our inner empire? This thing right here. And that's one of the reasons why I've come out here where I am. It's to get away from the day-to-day stuff in order to focus and go within, to exert myself in ways that I perhaps would feel uncomfortable with, focusing on building the inner empire. I made a resolution when I came out here, and I want to focus on my physical resetting, refreshing, and recharging my physical body, because at sort of half a century now, the body starts to have its own aches and pains. And I don't feel my age, but the body has its own thing. And so I've decided to put effort into rebuilding internally and caring for myself internally, taking therapies and treatments to recharge myself physically. And then spiritually, I've been working on building myself spiritually, stretching myself. Because here's the thing, when we focus, that's called building our inner empire. When we focus on the within, we start to change the without. But too many people are focused on changing their external environment, like that guy, right? Getting an air conditioning unit, bringing a fan, trying to cool themselves with cold water, plunging in a pool, so many different things, when all they got to do is step into the shade. And so the shade for us is going inside, going internally. So I want to ask you, what is it that you know that you need to change in your life? That is your inner life. Here. What is it that you need to change in your mind, in your mentality, in your approach to things, in your relationship to things, internally? What adjustments do you have to make in your subconscious mind, your ego? What is it that you need to do? What psychic surgery, what inner surgery do you need to do to extricate, to surgically remove something that isn't serving you, that's causing your external environment to be what it is? Or that's preventing you from getting the things that you or I want? And that's the questioning that I want to invite you to play with. How can you work on building your inner empire? Because I assure you, if we can work on building our empire, I'm kind of loving this hat, by the way. It kind of stops the sun from getting too much, Anyway, what is it that you could do that would make a difference in your inner empire? And just think of this word, empire, inner empire. I want to give you a meaningful brain tattoo that will help you to go internally. Okay, empire, here we go. E is for empathy. We start with being empathetic, showing empathy to ourselves. You know, we got to cut ourselves some slack. We cut other people some slacks, but sometimes we're too hard on ourselves, right? I know I am. So 1, empathy. Bring empathy for yourself. E, right? Then M for empathy. In the empathy is M is for meditation. What is it that you can do? And I don't just mean meditation as in sitting chanting Om necessarily, and it can be that. It could be mantras, it could be so many things. But this M, meditation, means to sit in silence, to sit in stillness, and seek to create the space where answers start to arise. Maybe not straight away, but with time. That's M. P is for progression. We start by looking inwards, and then we look to build the progression inwards. That is progressive adaptation. Those of you who are into physical training, bodybuilding, all that kind of good fun stuff that I'm into, you'll understand progressive adaptation is the gradual increasing of the load to build about adaptation, positive adaptation, strengthening. So P is for progressive adaptation, how you can progressively adapt. If you're starting with meditation 5 minutes a day, can you build it to 6 next week, 8 next week, 10 following week? So progressive adaptation in your inward journey, sitting still for longer and longer. That's EMP. A is for appreciation, appreciating who we are, what we are, warts and all the good and the bad stuff. It's appreciating who and what we are, what we have, the gifts that we have. What is it that we can give to the world? What is it that we have, and who is it that we have that we appreciate? So A is for showing appreciation. EMPA. T is for tenacity and tolerance. Tolerance is to tolerate our bodily and mental challenges, right? We need to tolerate, we need to understand and not react. You know, when we get a pain or a cut in the Western world, we're climatized to just reach for a medicine from the cabinet, but actually sometimes we need to sit. So how is it that we can learn to tolerate our urges, our emotional roller coasters, learning to tolerate? T is also for tenaciousness, learning to find ways to be tenacious when it comes to going inside. If you're so busy in your external world with work in the mind, find a half an hour on a Saturday morning, put a do not disturb sign outside. Get tenacious about finding time to be with you. So that's T. EMPATH. H is for happy, being happy with where we are now, even though it's imperfect, even though it's incomplete, even though it may feel shitty. Start with being happy with what you have now, who you are now. Okay guys, that got cut. I'm going to finish the remainder of this stream off. So I was going through an acronym for empire as it applies to focusing on our inner empire, building our inner empire using the acronym empire. So we went through E is for empathy, M is for meditation, P is for progression, progressive adaptation, A is for acceptance, accepting where we are now, T is for tolerance, tolerating our urges, H is for happy, happy with who we are, what we are, where we are now. Even though it's imperfect, even though we're not happy, perfectly happy, it's learning to be happy with what we have. It goes nicely with A for appreciation. Appreciation and happiness. When you're happier with the little joys that you have, the people, the things, the circumstances, finding happiness in things that you've done in the past, it infuses you with a certain energy that brings about a magnetic pull to the things that you actually want. In other words, it helps us to build our inner empire. That's H. And lastly, Y. Y is for yearning. Yearn for a better future. Not hanker, yearn. Hankering means there's a desperation about it, but yearning means that you long for it, but you're comfortable with where you are now. Yearning for it as in look at it as a dream and recreate that dream in the mental screen of your mind on a repeated basis, as that will help to magnetize it, to bring it towards you. So there we have it, the word empire. I said empathy, didn't I? Empire, empathy. There you go, you've got a great acronym right there. So hopefully that serves you in some way. I'm going to tune out and go and do some inner empire building myself. I hope that's served you in some way. As always, if you haven't done already, go subscribe, look up and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Urban Spirituality, and the podcast of the same name on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all those things, and share your wisdom and help make this world a more beautiful place. One person, one heart, one soul at a time. That's it from me. Peace out. Namaste.